There we go. Okay, today we're here with Lauren Goss. This is a debrief, particularly of the 5,000 meter race, but also we could throw a lot of other stuff in there from the season.
Yep.
Because actually you had a really, in my opinion, had a really good season. Now, I'm going to have to ask you, how many 5Ks have you run on the track in your life?
2.
2, right? Anything before we started here doesn't really count if you, like in college. Doesn't really count, right?
Never ran in college.
You didn't run in college?
No.
All right, so 2, and then how many 10Ks have you run?
3.
You've run 3 10Ks. Last year you ran in the trials, but you had to qualify in Oregon, right? To run that one. You ran 32 high in your first one?
32:17.
Oh, wow. And then at the trials it was
32:50.
Some odd, right? Because it was, it was like 150 degrees on the track.
And it blew up.
It was like an oven, right?
Yeah.
Okay, how are we doing over here?
And then I did one in March, 31:49 this year.
31:49.
Yeah.
Of all the races, the track races that you run, which is the best one in your opinion that you ran?
I think probably the first 5, the Pittsburgh 5,000.
The Berg.
Yeah.
Okay.
There was also a lot of money on the line, so.
But tell me about that race. Tell me how it went. Tell me the planning for it. Tell me the strategy for it and the preparation and so forth.
Yeah, I think that one I needed to run 15:17. I knew I wouldn't have anybody there really with me. I felt confident, but I knew my speed wasn't there because I was coming off an injury. I hadn't had time to really develop the speed since the break.
Right.
But I was definitely confident going in it. I knew I could hit the time. And I felt like I even paced that race.
Okay, so confidence, strategy, even pace.
Yeah.
A lot of money on the line, 20 grand.
A lot of money on the line, and I just executed.
Yeah, absolutely. So tell me the preparation before that race. You only had a short window to get ready for it, and after the injury.
And we actually did a lot of stuff on the road before that.
Exactly. We were doing like tempo running on the road.
Yeah.
And so not as much quality as we could have done for sure.
Exactly.
So the performance based on the training, which was not really that race specific, was pretty darn good.
My performance was, I feel like I performed above where I wasn't training at that point in that race.
And that's exactly where you want to be. You want to overperform based on the training.
Exactly.
This is what you did. Okay, good. Now moving forward to this race, the 5,000 that you ran last weekend. How did the training change between those two races?
Well, we started focusing on speed.
Okay.
And I felt extremely prepared for that race.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because you had a 9:45 altitude time trial, which is probably a record for anything over 5,000 feet in the United States by an American. You're not going to see anybody run that fast for 2 miles.
Yeah.
Now, Laura Tweed, a couple years ago in a road race, she ran like a 9:55.
Right.
But it's been many years since she's able to do that.
Right.
And I was very impressed with that race because I know Nell and I have been running 3,200 time trials for a while. And it's tough to break 10 minutes.
It's tough, and I crushed that time trial. I felt very prepared.
Okay, yeah. And then tell me about the other speed work that you felt was appropriate for that.
We did those 400s, and I closed in 60.
Yeah.
That was good.
That was good, really good.
We did the 200s. I broke 30, 29.6. That was good. I'd never done that before. And I felt really good. Like my turnover was good. I felt really prepared aerobically and anaerobically.
Right. So coming around to race time, you get in the line and you're number 14. They make you start way the hell out.
Yeah.
In the 14th spot out of maybe what, 20?
There's like 20 girls. Yeah.
20 plus women.
It was crowded.
So what happened?
Well, then there was kind of there must have been a false start, and then everyone kind of like hesitated a little bit, but ultimately I got run over at the start and I fell pretty hard.
Well, you did a faceplant big time.
And it was interesting because I was so prepared for the race. I felt so calm. I wasn't nervous at all, and I was really ready to perform. And then that happened, and I got like really shooken up.
Yeah.
And my
body. Your body was in shock.
Yeah, and my body was like really tense. My knee kind of hurt. And it just threw my focus off completely.
Exactly.
And I went from having this goal of knowing exactly what I needed to do, all of a sudden to just, I hope I can finish the race. So I went from like super focused to execute to like, I just hope I can finish. But that was what happened. So that's what I had to do. I had to deal with that.
Well, that was an amazing performance based on the fact that you didn't. It was a hard fall. It wasn't like a fall where you just fell down and rolled.
No.
You went down hard.
I went down hard, and when I did I did the race. I ran 15:18. I wanted to break 15:10. So originally I was very disappointed. But actually, now reflecting back, I'm pretty happy with the race because I felt terrible. From the first step. And it wasn't because my preparation, it was from the fall. Like,
yeah.
I felt great in the warm-up. I felt great in the tempo before the race.
That's tragic.
But that's just life, right? That's happened.
Well, and like I said before, my concern is your health, number one. And if I can keep you healthy and keep you undertrained, so you get to the starting line, you're going to run well at any distance.
Yeah.
Including the marathon. I mean, that's part of the discussion here, but it's all about staying healthy. So let's talk a little bit about some fundamentals. First of all, miles per week this season, this spring.
Yep.
Do you feel like you ran enough miles per week to support whatever you were up to?
Yeah. I actually think I ran too much miles.
You ran too many miles?
Yeah, I think I ran too much to be fast.
Okay, all right.
Like, I was...
Why did you run so many miles? Why did you do that?
And...
Why did you do that?
And also against, like, what you suggested, so...
Or exactly. But I told you early on that you, in particular, don't need to run that many miles to perform well.
Exactly.
Particularly at anything less than 10,000 meters.
Yeah.
Yeah, when you get up to half marathon or a marathon, yeah, you've got to bump your miles up.
Yeah.
But you still have to be careful with how you handle those miles.
Well, exactly, and I think look, I'm a coach too,
right.
And I don't take my own advice.
No, it's hard. It's
hard. And
that's why you hired me, right? So.
Exactly, and as a adult athlete too, I think also like we are responsible for our own decisions. And you suggested to run 70 to 80, but I wanted to run 85 to 95. And why? Because that's how I handle my anxiety, is by running.
It's anxiety management, isn't it?
And to me, yes, yeah. I knew I would be sacrificing a little performance, but my mental health was better, so I chose to run on the higher side, right? Okay. And which was around 90 miles a week.
Not unreasonable. But...
And not unreasonable. You have some 5'10" people who run 90, but that's definitely on the higher end. And I think maybe if I was around 75, I would have had a little more pop.
There we go.
Step.
Exactly. Most likely. But you were in that plus or minus 85, 90.
85 to 90. I was still fine, but on the high side of it. And I was doing week after week after week after week after week there. So
now, I also suggested that you continue to swim.
Yes.
But I think that's also could be part of the anxiety management program, is your swimming.
Yeah.
Because that does take the edge off a little bit.
Yeah.
But I would continue to do that going
exactly. Yep.
I mean, if you have the wherewithal, the time to do it, I think it's going to be beneficial for your long-term career.
Yeah.
And when I'm talking about long-term, you've got another 10 years of high-quality competitive racing in you. As evidenced by Sarah Hall this morning, she's almost 40. She ran Top American in a really good time.
Yeah.
At the World Championships. So women now, if they take care of themselves, can have an extended career.
Right.
A very broad window. So miles per week. Now, the other thing I wanted to talk about is, remember we mentioned just a minute ago, the 5K, we did a lot of tempo running before that.
Right.
We didn't do a lot of high intensity.
No.
How did you feel about the tempo runs, how we structured that, and, do we need to do more of those, fewer of those, etc.?
The tempo runs, I think they were great. I think do I need more or less than that? That's interesting. I think I would need, honestly, I would probably like to do tempo runs, but with a like change in pace within the tempo run. But instead of just dropping down, like dropping down, then back up, then down, then back up, instead of just like building. Like if instead of doing a 5-mile tempo, start at 5:45 down to 5:15. Maybe do 5:45, 5:15, back to 5:30, back to 5:15. The change in the systems, because for me that's really hard. That change, and it's hard for me mentally to change from like threshold to hard. I can do it, but like it's hard.
We want to practice doing that.
I need to practice the change in pace.
Okay, no, excellent. Because that's totally appropriate.
Yeah.
We have some of that planned for Nell this fall.
Yep.
Both in her long runs as well as some of the shorter runs she's doing, shorter tempo runs that she's doing. Okay, that's great. So we'll work on those, and when we do our actual plan, we'll work those into the system and make sure that it's clear what we're after when we do those. So we have now speed work. We touched on that earlier. If you had to do over again, would you do more or less speed work, about the same?
Exactly the same.
Exactly the same.
Wouldn't have changed anything.
Because you came up with a really nice fast 60-second of 400.
And look, I've done the speed and training, and it hasn't translated to the race yet, but I know it's going to.
Well, it would have this past weekend.
It would have a few ways. It would have, I think, if someone was in front of me and I had something in front of me to chase. Because I feel like it's hard to like have self-motivation to go for a time when there's no one in front of you.
Well, no, I mean, that's the reason when we opened our conversation, we were talking about how many 5Ks you've run and how many 10Ks you've run. You can count them on one hand, literally.
Yeah.
Now, if you're talking about your competition, years, literally years since NCAA time, and let's say some of them were in their mid-20s or late 20s, now we're talking about dozens of races, a lot of experience, and a lot of knowledge on how to run the race.
Well, I've done 5 track races, and I'm 5 for 5 running the last 800 alone of every single race.
Yeah.
So I've never had like that. We're in the group, or picking up the pace, like latch on and like compete. It's more of like, oh, there's the clock, like. And I feel like I'm changing the pace, but like you're not.
It's hard.
You think you are.
Yeah.
But at the end of the race, like you're so tired, and if you just hold on to the same pace, it's like. Feels like you're going harder.
Well, in the race the other day, you broke away with. At what point in the race did you break away from Eleanor Fulton?
Oh, like 3,200.
3,200.
Yeah.
You were running solo on the last mile.
I ran solo the last 2 miles. The last 2K was
last
alone.
2K. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So, and that's a long ways to run.
And then she's a 1,500 meter runner, and she saw me right in front of her, right? So she was trying to get me.
Yeah. And but you won. You still won. So.
I still won. So like.
That's the important thing, right?
And honestly, I didn't even know she was behind me. So I was kind of just like if you watch the thing, I didn't like. There was no urgency in my step. I didn't know she was right there. I had no idea she was behind me.
But you still ran like 70 seconds for your last 400.
Yeah,
she ran 68.
She ran 68.
And you were like 71.
But I know I can be like 65.
Well, you need more data points. That's my whole point.
Yeah.
You need more races, not only for the experience of racing strategy, but to get a faster time.
Yeah.
And the problem is there's precious few. Well, now, essentially the season's over as far as I know.
Well, the track season.
The track season's over. Right.
I don't know how many more races there are. I don't think there are anymore.
There's not much left going on. I think, not much going on.
And if there are, they're like in Tennessee, and it's like hot. Like, I'm not going to go.
No, you don't go there.
So my track season's over. Track season. But I would like to do a road 5K if there was one somewhere.
Yeah, and there might be. So we talked about.
And also, I hate spikes, and I finally realized that at this last race. I just can't. I have a really hard time picking it up in them. I don't know why.
Okay.
I'm really struggling running in spikes.
Well, have we practiced in spike that much?
I don't practice that much in spikes because it's this like cycle of like it makes my calves tight, and I don't want to get injured.
Oh no, it's fine. So we need to go with an alternative.
Gotta figure it out. Yeah.
I mean, I used to race in flats. They were a spikeless spike kind of thing.
Yeah.
And the traction is not that big a deal. You don't really need spikes.
Yeah.
In my opinion, for anything 5,000 meters or more.
Like I think I can run a faster road 5K than track 5K.
Yeah.
On the right fast course,
Yeah, and there's not much short stuff coming up. It's all going to be longer, 10K and above.
Yeah.
coming up for the rest of the year. But we'll do speed work for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we covered miles per week. We talked about tempo running. We talked about speed work. We talked about racing frequency. And we have precious few, literally, like I said before, you can count on one hand the total number of track races you've run in your life, much less the last year. So really, what you need is experience more racing. Now, Molly, if I could digress for a minute, we were able to fit in a bunch of races.
Yeah.
1,500 meters, 5,000 meters, 10,000 meters.
Yeah.
Which really paid off for her, finishing 10th at Nationals.
Agree.
But,
and I had those two, Peyton Jordan and Mount Sac planned, but then I got injured.
You got injured, right.
That really put a damper on my season.
Okay,
so we did the best we could with what we had.
Yeah, exactly. So. And there's more faster to come. That's what we're talking about right now.
Yeah.
Let's talk about what your ideal rest of the year would look like from here through December, because now it's July. This is the 7th month. We have 5 months left in the year. And then we'll get back together to actually set up the plan. Right on through CIM.
Yeah, so ideally, I'd like to do that 10K time trial or whatever with Matt.
Coming in a couple weeks.
Couple weeks.
Yeah, that's fine.
And just in training at Boulder, but really view it as like a race, and maybe in that time trial, he surges sometimes, within the middle, right? See if I can go with him. I don't know. We can play around.
But I think it's appropriate that you do his program for the next few weeks, because essentially what I want you to do is get faster.
Yeah.
Because this, what I call a buffer zone, between now and the time we start our official training for the marathon.
Right.
We have a bunch of weeks.
So we have 6 weeks before I need to start doing the marathon
Exactly.
training.
So we're going to do what I call speed enhancement or speed improvement.
So we'll do a speed block.
A speed block, right.
Before we go into the specific.
Exactly. So we'll work on your short mile time.
Right.
Essentially, it's mile training. And same thing I would have done with Nell had she not gotten COVID.
Yeah. I'd like to do another mile time trial and break 4:40.
There we go. Exactly. You're right on the same page as I am. So speed enhancement in this buffer zone, 6 weeks, and then we go into marathon training.
Exactly.
So when we sit down next time, we need an hour and a half.
Yeah.
Because we have to go through the entire thing.
Yeah.
And then, I'll refine it as we go.
Right.
And then, as the training program progresses, we can always refine that.
Right.
But what I'd like to do is start off with a good template, and we're pretty sure we're going to do these races, and here's how to prepare for these races. So I just did one for Matt, this entire program for Berlin. Mm-hmm. I just did one for Nell. So we'll do these exact same thing for you.
So I'll do the 20K.
Yes.
Champs.
Okay, there we go. Yep.
I think it's the first weekend in September, and then I have that Indianapolis half the first week of November.
Okay. Yep.
So that's a big 8 weeks in between there. So probably need to do something.
Yeah. So we'll talk about that.
Find something, and then.
Well, the Medtronics 10 mile would be appropriate.
Yeah.
That's September 1st.
No, it's October.
It's October 2nd.
October 2nd.
Why did I say September? Oh, that's the New Haven. Am I right? That's New Haven.
Yes.
Yeah,
New Haven's September 5th.
Right.
Or 3rd.
So we have kind of a month every.
The first weekend of every month.
A race every month, which is perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wouldn't.
Every 4 weeks.
I wouldn't race any more frequently than that.
No.
I'd spread it out and do some time trials in between there, some speed work and so forth.
Right.
But essentially, once we get started with the marathon program, you're in the marathon program, and those races are contributory towards that goal.
Right.
So we work those in, and we use those for predictive purposes and assessment purposes, see where we're at.
Yeah. The marathon CIM December, I'm a little I feel like I am gonna be okay because I really like running high mileage. I enjoy it, and I don't get injured. When I got injured this year, I think that was from the spikes and then running too soon, right? My calves were tight from the 10K spikes.
Probably a combination of high mileage and spikes.
Travel, spikes,
whatever
I don't know, stress.
Exactly.
It was, and that was coming off that big snowstorm, so I had done my last 2 weeks of workouts on the treadmill. It was just a lot, but I think my body will be able to handle the miles. I'm worried about the long runs.
So we have to, I'll write the program out, and then every long run we have to debrief after that long run. And during that week after the long run, the hard ones I'm saying, because we do a hard one every other week, is our debrief will basically cover your health.
Right.
How are you feeling? and to the extent that we need to make adjustments. Now, I will say this. You can run a very good marathon on very few long runs, 3 or 4. Really, that's all you need.
Yeah.
And in my opinion, a lot of Americans tend to run too many long runs.
Right.
It's hard on the body. They're not as productive. You get decreasing returns as you go. So we're going to monitor that really closely.
Yeah.
Does it make sense?
Yeah, it makes sense, because I like, as much as I love mileage, I would say the long runs are what I'm a little worried about. But also, like, I don't fuel on my long runs at this point, so because I'm not running more than 14 miles, and so I feel like if I add like carbs into my runs, I'll be fine.
Okay.
So I need to work on my fueling side of the the long runs. I need to make sure that's like dialed.
And that's definitely one of the things you want to do.
Yeah.
Nell would be a good consultant on that because she does really well with fueling.
Right.
And if she doesn't do well with fueling, she won't run well. So.
Exactly.
But she's very good at it.
About how many calories do you think she takes in her marathon?
I do not know, but she's going to take maybe 3 gels. And so they're probably a couple hundred calories per gel.
100? They are 100?
100 per gel, so...
And then she has bottles with stuff?
She has bottles, but fewer calories. That's just electrolytes and not very many calories. So maybe 300 calories. Not that much.
For the whole marathon?
Yeah, I mean, she's coming into it well-fueled, though.
That's true.
If you check her out before she races, she's going to be well-fueled before going into that. And she eats, like, her routine is pretty consistent.
Yeah.
3 hours before, she's good, runs the race, takes her gels,
yeah,
and she's good. You don't need to overdo it, but you need to be cognizant of what.
And I need to train.
You need to
my
train
body
exactly.
Too,
You need to train your body. You need to practice. You need to rehearse.
Yeah.
All that good stuff.
Yeah.
All right. So anyway, I think we're good here. I listened to what you had to say. We have this documented.
Yep.
We can make adjustments accordingly, but we got pretty much a plan. A framework going forward.
So speed until...
Yeah. So
will we do speed up until New Haven?
So I can't look at the calendar, but if I back off, your build-up's going to be 14 weeks. That gives you time to do 4 or 5 long runs.
Yeah.
And also gives you time to do some racing, some longer intervals, marathon intervals.
Right.
As opposed to what we've done historically. Because we've never trained for a marathon before. It's a different animal.
Yeah. And how will the long runs look until I start the block?
Build up between now and then, but
so we'll be building up volume.
Very, very low intensity.
Exactly. I go very slow on my
because
long runs.
the problem with if you start doing that's right. If you start doing too high intensity with the long runs now, and we're 20 weeks out between now and the end of the year,
I'll burn out.
It's too much.
Yeah.
So between now and then, you might go out for a long run, take a break, drink some water, run some more, drink some water for the next 6 weeks. But then when you have 4 or 5 good hard long
within
runs,
12 weeks.
14 weeks.
14 weeks.
Yeah, that's the build-up. Cool. And there, 14 weeks was the right time frame for that.
Yeah.
Every other week.
So before New Haven, how many miles do you think my long run will be up to?
Well, probably I have to look and see how it falls.
Because New Haven is 12 weeks out of the marathon.
So what I have, we always get our long run in, but it may not be on a Sunday. So for example, if the long run comes on the week before New Haven, then we move it to Friday, so you have 9 days recovery after a long run.
Yeah.
And then you run 9 days later.
Yeah.
But we're not too concerned about it in terms of recovery because it's 9 days.